Welcome to another VeVe Digital Collectibles comic breakdown. I'm Corey with VeVe, and today's comic from Marvel gives us the first appearance of a guy you really don't want to get on the wrong side of, Frank Castle, aka The Punisher. That's right, with the entry of Amazing Spider-Man 129, comic lovers can add yet another major first appearance comic to their VeVe collection. And before we arm ourselves with knowledge about one of the most hardcore street-level heroes in the Marvel Universe, let's unload the drop details. Amazing Spider-Man 129 is scheduled to release on Monday, April 24th at 8 a.m. Pacific Time. Minting 10,000 editions across the 5 rarities, this comic will have a retail price of 20 gems. Published on February 1st of 1974 with art by Ross Andrew and writing by Jerry Conway, this comic introduced us to what would appear to be 2 Spider-Man adversaries. Frank Castle would start this comic off teamed up with the Jackal, who also has a first appearance in this comic. While Castle's motives were initially murky, we would learn within a panel or two that his goal is simple: the elimination of Spider-Man. And if you're wondering who's this Jackal guy and why is the Punisher clearly helping a villain, we gotta ground ourselves in the timeline when this story takes place. So we'll jump back 8 issues earlier, and that takes us to one of the most heartbreaking moments in Spider-Man history: the death of Gwen Stacy, a 2-part comic run we just recently released on the platform. In those comics, we'd see the tragic loss of Peter Parker's primary love interest, Gwen Stacy, in a battle with the Green Goblin. Because of the circumstances of the event, Spider-Man would be blamed for her death, and J. Jonah Jameson would continue to push that story in his newspaper, the Daily Bugle. And what Peter Parker wouldn't realize, and we as readers would learn later on, is that the Jackal is actually a man by the name of Miles Warren, a professor at Empire State University who was dabbling in human cloning and other nefarious things. And Warren had grown very attached to one of his students, Gwen Stacy. Thus, Spider-Man's perceived responsibility for Gwen's death partially led Jackal to hatch a plot to make Spider-Man pay. And this narrative that Spider-Man was somehow guilty or responsible for the death of Gwen Stacy is also what pulls Frank Castle, the Punisher, into this story. The Jackal targeted and manipulated the Punisher, knowing he would have a better chance of eliminating Spider-Man with the Punisher on his side. Of course, the Jackal intended to immediately betray and frame the Punisher after using him to take out Spider-Man, but to learn more about those shenanigans, you definitely need to read this comic. All said, the Punisher has enjoyed years of use in comics, video games, television, and movies. And it all started right here with this comic. And adding to the historic nature of this comic are VeVe exclusive rare and ultra rare covers. These are coming from Salvador Larroca and Edgar Delgado. These 2 artists have collaborated before on multiple comics on the platform, to include X-Men Alpha #1, Hulk #1, and my favorite from them so far, Amazing Spider-Man #300. Let's take a closer look at the editions, the rarities, and all of the artwork that's releasing in this series. First, the Common Classic cover is minting 6,000 editions. The flavor text proclaims, "He's different, he's deadly, he's the Punisher." And that's spot on. Punisher was unlike any character in comics up to this point, with the unique backstory, credos, and mentality. The art itself, with the crosshair on Spider-Man and bright yellow backdrop, is an eye catcher. And because of this is one of those comics that just looks beautiful on a shelf. Next, the Uncommon Vintage variant is minting 2,250 editions. Frank Castle gets the color selection on this one, and the rest of the comic gets muted with black and white desaturation. Really makes the Punisher pop, and we get to appreciate the cover art, which was done by Gil Kane and John Romita. The black uniform with blue highlights, it really gives this an era-specific look and feel. All in all, a beautiful cover. Our first VeVe exclusive is the Rare Hero variant, and it's minting 1,000 editions. Salvador Larroca is on inks and pencils, and Edgar Delgado hits it with colors. This homage is amazingly done, and really is a tribute to the source material. We even see an After Andrew artist call out from the exclusive artists on their signature line, giving respect to the original artist. Everything gets an update on this cover: the costuming, the character design, and the crisp style of modern rendering. I'm a big fan of this one. Next, the ultra rare Vibranium variant is minting 500 editions. Full color saturation pulls this homage cover together together. And the bright yellow background makes this a cover that still stands out in a big way. This modern adaptation of Frank Castle really gives us updated vibes. The thicker, more muscular frame, boots, skull design, and weaponry design reminds me of when Frank Miller incorporated Punisher into Daredevil 183. Finally, the secret rare True Believer variant is minting 250 editions. This interior panel is being sourced from this page and this panel. And this panel established how the Punisher was a unique character, and that he doesn't enjoy the taking of life. While the Jackal happily awaits the death of Spider-Man at the hands of the Punisher, Frank Castle takes no joy in the idea. He simply sees it as his duty and burden to remove evil from the world to protect the innocent. And that's a wrap for this breakdown video. What If number 44 was one of the first comics that I read that had the Punisher in it, and it was What If Venom Possessed the Punisher. And it was just one of those comics that blew my mind, and since that comic, I've read pretty much every Punisher comic that I could get my hands on. I've watched all the television shows, all the movies. So needless to say, I'm really stoked to see this one coming to the platform. With that said, best of luck if you do decide to go for this one. Till the next breakdown video, keep learning, sharing, and collecting what you love. This is Corey with VeVe, signing off.